the person that you chose to be with was Robyn.
And I think that I just have to respectfully go, I don't care what broke us up. We know that we weren't good together.
But if you're going to make your future relationships better, isn't it like to have an interesting, introspective conversation about what went wrong, how it went wrong, and how do you expect to have friendships? Wait. How do you, but you shut her down too. Well, when you were having that conversation, you were like, well, we're not gonna have this conversation.
What if all Robyn ever told the camera was a lie, and the evidence was right under our noses, from clandestine kisses captured on tape during labor to pandemic drama and manufactured farewells? Robyn Brown's contradictions have finally reached a breaking point. And Kody, he's not only complicit, he's rewriting history with one glare. This is more than a tale of broken marriages. It's about silence being weaponized, love being used as leverage, and how the rules were never intended to cover up for the women, just the man in the middle. Robyn always speaks in gentle tones, with words wrapped in warmth, like she's teaching a Sunday school class, not rewriting a family's reality. In one-on-one interviews, she insists that shared children are sacred, that staying connected is vital. She calls it a responsibility, a moral calling. When you share children, she says, you stay in each other's lives. It sounds noble, almost selfless, the kind of sentiment people nod along to without really questioning. But when the cameras pan away, her actions write a completely different truth. Because just after gaining full legal guardianship, after Kody signed away his parental rights to her ex's children so he could legally adopt them, Robyn turned around and quietly pulled the plug on the family's annual gift exchange. No notice, no explanation, just a cold statement. Dad and I decided we're not doing it anymore. The ritual that once symbolized connection and love wiped out with a single sentence. No room for discussion, not even for the kids who once called her mom. It wasn't just about presence. It was about presence, about choosing who counts as family and who doesn't, and Robyn chose exclusion. When she says shared children keep families bonded, what she means is only the children that serve her narrative. The others, those born to women she resents, become invisible, and she does it all with a soft smile, wrapped in carefully curated language like boundaries and privacy. But the truth doesn't need a bow. It shows up in silence, in who gets invited in, who gets left out. Robyn didn't just contradict herself. She exposed the quiet control she's wielded for years. This wasn't a slip. It was a strategy, a clean break disguised as decorum. And for the children caught in the middle, the message couldn't be clearer. Family is conditional love, selective. When Suki turned to Kody with the question everyone wanted answered, was your relationship with Robyn physical before marriage? The room didn't just shift. It tightened. You could feel the tension like static, silent, and humming. But instead of replying, instead of offering even a dismissive no comment, Kody glanced down, picked out an imaginary speck on his jacket, then slowly looked up and locked eyes with her. No words, just a stare. A long, deliberate stare. And for a few seconds, it wasn't a TV interview anymore. It was something colder, more calculated. This wasn't discomfort. This wasn't hesitation. This was a warning shot, a flex. The kind of move meant to rattle, not respond. Kody didn't just sidestep the question. He tried to end the conversation entirely using silence, the way someone else might use volume A power play, dressed in stillness. And yet Suki didn't flinch. She met his gaze with a level calm, like she'd seen this before, like she wasn't going to let the weight of his stare tip the balance of the moment. It was a quiet standoff that spoke volumes about Kody's dynamic with women, how he asserts control not with reason or transparency, but with presence, with performance. Around men, he's all charisma and laughter. Around women who press him, who hold him accountable, he defaults to dominance. It's a pattern. And this time it happened on camera. And if that's what he does when the lights are on, when the audience is watching what happens, when no one else is in the room, that stare wasn't an answer. It was a warning, and Suki's refusal to back down turned it into a mirror. In her silence, we saw everything he didn't want to say and everything she wasn't afraid to hear. When Kody was asked a question that should have gutted him, would you do it all over again? Marry these women, raise this family? He didn't pause, didn't reflect, didn't even blink. He said simply, no. One word sharp, final cold. It landed like a slap, not just to the women who once built a life with him, but to the 12 living children who never even crossed his mind in that answer. He didn't qualify. It didn't soften it with nuance. He didn't say, some things were hard, or I made mistakes, just no. And then he doubled down. He called it a waste of time. The plural life that made him famous, that gave him a platform, that paid his bills and secured his image, dismissed with a shrug. As if the decades of birthdays, the emotional labor, the shared grief, the joys and heartbreaks of building a massive family were just clutter he was ready to sweep away. His regret wasn't laced with sorrow. It was weaponized, a declaration that the people who shaped him were now liabilities to be disavowed. He didn't mourn the end of the dream. He didn't honor the effort it took to live it. He just declared it dead. That's the tragedy. Not that Kody fell out of love, not even that he grew apart from his wives, but that he erased everything that didn't fit his new narrative. For him, love was never unconditional. It was convenient. And when the applause stopped, so did the affection. In that one moment, the myth of the devoted plural father collapsed. Not with a scandal, not with a scream, but with a word. And the silence that followed was louder than anything he could have said. While hospitals overflowed and families clung to hope in overcrowded ICUs, Robyn Brown sounded the alarm over a 99.8-degree fever. In the middle of a global pandemic, when PPE was scarce, when people died waiting for beds, she rushed to the ER not because she was critically ill, but because a thermometer read less than 1 degree above normal. And in doing so, she didn't just consume precious medical resources, she detonated emotional chaos in her own home. Her daughter Aurora, visibly trembling, broke down in fear, believing her mother was dying. The panic in her voice, the desperation in her prayers weren't rooted in fact, but in the narrative Robyn built around discomfort and dramatization. Instead of calming her children, she fed their fear. The story wasn't, I'm okay. It was, this might be it. She wielded the language of crisis, not to inform, but to elevate the emotional stakes. And when a doctor finally told her to go to the hospital, it felt less like a medical necessity and more like appeasement, like they were trying to end the conversation rather than treat an emergency. The fever, 99.8 degrees. The verdict, mild theatrics off the charts. Kody, ever the dramatist's sidekick, held up the thermometer like it was a smoking gun, proof of imminent disaster. But instead of a medical crisis, what we witnessed was performance. A crisis not of the body, but of control. Robyn's hospital visit wasn't just about illness, it was about spotlight, about fear as a form of power. While others suffered in silence, she made sure her version of pain got airtime, sympathy, and screen time. It wasn't just tone deaf, it was a masterclass in manufactured panic and the collateral damage her children's peace of mind and the public's patience. Kody didn't just fall in love, he claimed it was divine, as if fate itself had handed him Robyn glowing with purpose, sealed by destiny. He painted their connection as spiritual, sacred, ordained. But beneath that glowing facade was something far messier. Because while Kody was proclaiming divine intervention, Christine and Meri were watching a betrayal unfold in real time. One that began long before any vows were exchanged. Christine had one rule: no kissing before the altar, not in their faith, not in their world. Kissing before sealing was more than just a slip, it was a breach of covenant. And yet, while she was laboring to bring another of Kody's children into the world, he drove hours to visit Robyn and kissed her goodbye. Christine later admitted that kiss devastated her, and Meri, the ever-loyal first wife, agreed. It wasn't just a kiss. It was a betrayal disguised as affection. The timeline they were fed of chaste courtship, of spiritual connection that waited for the right moment didn't match reality. There was kissing. There were long drives. There were emotional bonds forming behind closed doors, while his other wives sat home in confusion. Kody called it a courtship. But when your heart's already given away, when the intimacy begins before the permission, what else can it be but an affair in everything but name? He claims divine love, but the divine doesn't hide. The divine doesn't leave wreckage in its wake. The women weren't given honesty. They were given fragments, half-truths, cloaked in religious language. And when you flash back through it all, what you see isn't destiny. It's a carefully constructed myth meant to justify a decision already made. And the women left behind, they weren't consulted. They were casualties. Christine was in labor, exhausted, vulnerable, doing the work of bringing new life into a family already straining at the seams. But instead of being by her side, Kody drove miles to Robyn's house. And when he left, he kissed her, not a chaste brotherly kiss, not something innocent, a kiss between two people who already knew where this was going, and the cameras caught it. The timing couldn't have been worse or more revealing. While one wife was writhing in pain to deliver a child into the family, Kody claimed to cherish he was off indulging in a moment of intimacy with the woman who would eventually upend everything. It was the kiss that shattered the illusion. Not just because of what it was, but because of when it happened. In their belief system, courtship was supposed to be pure sacred. Physical affection before sealing wasn't just frowned upon. It was a violation of their covenant. And Christine, she wasn't just hurt, she was blindsided. That kiss wasn't about love, it was about erasure. In that moment, Kody chose Robyn over the life Christine was risking her body to bring forth. It wasn't just emotional betrayal, it was spiritual treason. That one kiss split the family down the middle. It wasn't just crossing a line, it obliterated the entire map of what their faith and family stood for. Kody never acknowledged the weight of it. He acted as if it were normal, as if Christine's anguish were inconvenient noise. But for her, it was the moment the covenant cracked open and everything holy about their family started to bleed out. Robyn says she learned how to budget during her divorce, how to stretch every dollar, how to live within her means. But when the receipts start stacking up, the numbers don't add up. Over $65,000 spent on collectible dolls and doll clothing from just one platform. Most of it unnecessary luxury-level spending. It wasn't just a splurge, it was a pattern, and yet she holds herself up as the model of frugality in a family where others were scraping together grocery money. When Robyn joined the Brown family, she didn't just bring in her kids, she brought in over $30,000 in debt, and somehow that burden was absorbed without consequence. Meanwhile, she moved into a fully furnished home with a backyard, finished to perfection, while Janelle lived in an RV without running water. Meri ran her own bed and breakfast. Christine worked tirelessly. But Robyn, she had Kody full-time household bills covered and free reign to use her own income. However she pleased, that's not budgeting. That's insulation from reality. She claims independence while leaning on shared funds. She touts financial wisdom while benefiting from the very privilege she denies. Other wives paid into the collective. Robyn lived off it. And the final insult, she critiques others' spending while treating the family's money like a personal inheritance. True budgeting comes from struggle, knowing you can't buy everything you want, that choices have weight. But for Robyn, it seems the only thing she budgeted was the narrative. Because when you have the most resources, the least responsibility, and the loudest moral voice, it's not discipline, it's fiction, wrapped in entitlement. And the real cost wasn't just money, it was trust. Meri's final day in the family home should have been marked by something meaningful, something that spoke to years of shared sacrifice, sisterhood, and struggle. Instead, Robyn hands her a gift so mismatched, so tone-deaf, It lands like an emotional paper, cut a junk journal, a scrapbook of random pages, glittery stickers, and pre-cut notes. And then, in a bizarre twist, Robyn opens the gift herself, as if the moment wasn't about Meri at all, but about how Robyn wanted to be seen giving it. Meri, ever composed, offers a tight smile. But the hollowness is unmistakable. This isn't just a poorly chosen gift, it's a metaphor. A journal filled with filler fluff and fragments, much like their relationship pages designed to look pretty, but never meant to hold real memories. Robyn's explanation for the gift comes off like an apology, not a celebration, an awkward attempt to fill silence that speaks volumes. If she had really known Meri, she would have known what mattered. A family photo, a heartfelt letter, not a Hobby Lobby afterthought. The emotional disconnect hangs heavy. You can feel the stiffness in the air. The way Meri instinctively pulls away from the moment. It's a goodbye staged for cameras, not for closure. The symbolism couldn't be more brutal. A junk journal for a junk ending. This wasn't the send-off of a beloved sister wife. It was a performance, a final act, in a long theater of polite betrayal. And Meri, poised and quiet, doesn't flinch because she's used to it. She's lived through years of being sidelined. One last impersonal gesture won't break her. If anything, it proves she made the right decision, walking away. Silence in the Brown family isn't just an absence of words. It's a tactic, a shield, a weapon. Kody's piercing stare at Suki wasn't unique. It was part of a larger pattern, a signature move. He doesn't shout, he doesn't argue. He tightens his jaw, fixes his gaze, and lets the silence threaten louder than any outburst could. It's not about discomfort. It's control masquerading as restraint. Robyn, too, masters the art. Her most telling betrayals aren't in what she says. They're in what she refuses to say. When asked about her ex-husband or her courtship with Kody, the answers blur into vague timelines and blurred emotions, gaps that conveniently keep her image polished. She'll offer a soft smile, a flutter of the eyes, a hint of emotion, and nothing more. No real substance, no specifics, because silence can't be fact-checked. And over time, this pattern becomes undeniable. When the pressure mounts, when the truth risks unraveling their carefully crafted personas, they both retreat into silence, not passive silence, but calculated silence. A silence meant to exhaust, to confuse, to force others into retreat. It leaves Christine questioning herself. It leaves Meri grieving in a vacuum. It isolates Janelle into exhaustion. Silence in their world becomes the final manipulation. It robs others of clarity, it prevents resolution, and it keeps power where they want it, unguarded, unchallenged, untouched. For all the drama the show has aired, it's the moments not shown, not said, and not admitted that tell the most damning truth of all. Meri was shamed, humiliated, and emotionally exiled for falling in love online. A connection that, while outside her marriage, never crossed into the physical. She was painted as the betrayer, the sinner, the cautionary tale. Yet when Robyn entered the picture, Kody's behavior shattered every rule they claimed to live by. He kissed Robyn before marriage broke their spiritual covenants and pursued intimacy with one woman while still bound to 3 others. But instead of consequences, Robyn was crowned the soulmate, elevated, chosen. This wasn't an accident, it was a hierarchy by design. One set of rules for the wives, submission, silence, sacrifice, and another for Kody dominance, masked as destiny. Meri's mistake was falling in love without permission. Robyn's advantage was being the woman Kody wanted to fall for. The standard was never spiritual purity, it was whether Kody approved. What makes this betrayal so much worse is that the wives were conditioned to believe the rules applied equally, that fairness was divine, that obedience would earn them eternal love. But what they received instead were shifting goalposts and moral gymnastics, a system that only functioned when it kept Kody elevated and the women in line. And now, as Christine and Janelle break away, as Meri finally packs her things, the truth is impossible to ignore. The rules were never about God. They were about control and survival. Now means breaking the silence, rewriting the script, and refusing to live by standards that were never meant to protect them. When you peel back the spiritual rhetoric, the scripted tears, and the used-up excuses, what's left is this: Robyn played the long game, and the others paid the price. Meri got punished, Christine got shut down, Janelle got benched, and Kody, he called it destiny. But perhaps the true divine intervention is the one that's occurring now. Women walking away, rewriting the rules, and reclaiming their power, one broken covenant at a time. If you're still reading Besties, you're the kind of person this channel is created for. I'm Amin, and this is TLC, the Sister Chapter. Your place for deep dives, truth bombs, and sister wives storytelling. They don't want you to hear. If you experience that fire, share this video with someone who's been side-eyeing Robyn for years, and forget not to subscribe with notifications on so you never miss the next drop. Leave your thoughts in the comments because we're not staying quiet anymore.